These sets of earphones are similarly named and similarly priced, but the big difference between the two is in how they sound. Both are great to own, but I'm sure you're here because you want to know which one's for you. If you would like to see my in-depth review on both of these earphones, I will leave it down in the description below. But for now, let's jump straight into how both of these are built. The OPPO comes with a glossy finish which I've never really liked in the past, but the folk at Earfun have got it spot on with a matte finish on their case. The OPPO does have a neat see-through design on the lid which looks quite cool, but being a glossy finish, this is bound to pick up scratches and scuffs quite soon. It's nice that they've used light colors so they shouldn't show age as fast as dark glossy finishes. The earphones also carry over the glossy finish and design of the previous generation with a slightly recessed area for the touch controls, and I quite like that they've got a mesh on the ear tips to help reduce dust, dirt or wax from entering into the earphones. This is a long-term design. Moving on to the Earfun, it's got a neat matte finish case and does look and feel more premium than the OPPO for certain. The inner part of the lid has a soft rubber material that ensures the earphones don't get scratched when it's closed, and it also contributes towards the lid having a more premium sound when closed compared to the OPPO, which has a higher pitched whack. The earphones have a very neatly finished matte blue color on them and LED lights on the top of them for letting you know when they're searching for a device to connect to. The touch control area is within the chrome lining on the upper part of the bud, and the lower part of the stem has a very neatly printed branding. These might appear to be larger than the OPPO earbuds, but they are as light and a little more comfortable to wear for longer listening sessions for certain. On a feature front, both of these have USB-C charging, they have touch controls and active noise cancellation, but the Earfun is the only one of these two that comes with wireless charging, which a lot of people out there might prefer. The one key difference between these two is that the Earfun doesn't have in-ear detection, which is something I see some people might miss. The OPPO does have in-ear detection, but what I found odd is that you have no way of putting it off via the Hey Melody app. Some viewers did mention you can put the in-ear detection off if you have an OPPO phone, so it's not entirely not a possibility. You can customize the touch controls on either set of earphones, and what I do like is both offer you the option of increasing or reducing your media's volume. The OPPO does come with a whole lot more features in the Hey Melody app, like Golden Sound, which will let you do a hearing test so that it can make a custom sound profile for you to listen to your media with depending on your hearing test, and it also has OPPO's Alive Audio, which is basically a 360 surround sound emulator. I've never liked these and prefer listening to my media in stereo. The 360 sound tends to thin out your audio and seems to me to be more of a gimmick than anything else. The Earfun app is more straightforward and to the point with your ANC modes, game mode, equalizer options which are expansive with different settings you can choose, and you also get a custom equalizer option which is always welcome for fine-tuning the sound you want. Both devices support dual device connectivity, so you can toggle between your computer and phone should you need to take any calls. When it comes to the active noise cancelling, OPPO has been very secretive about how many microphones this set of earphones has, but I suspect it has at least 2 microphones per earbud, whereas the Earfun does have 6 microphones, which is a total of 3 microphones per earbud, and it does have a hybrid setup which does incorporate one microphone nearer the ear canal to hear the sounds that are bleeding in, so it can eliminate those noises as well. So when it comes to how they perform with the active noise cancelling, well, OPPO does claim that they can cut down noise up to 49 decibels, whereas Earfun claims it can do up to 43 decibels. So while the OPPO does claim to perform a little bit better on paper, I did feel that the Earfun does do slightly better in ANC performance, and it's possibly because of the hybrid setup that it has with the active noise cancelling. Having that extra microphone can make all the difference, because when I was doing the A/B testing with the active noise cancelling, I did notice that with the OPPO, higher frequencies can tend to bleed in a little more than the Earfun does. So I could hear some whooshing of air or fan blades or some traffic noises were coming in more with the OPPO than with the Earfun. So I did think that the Earfun wouldn't do as well, but it turns out the Earfun does perform slightly better than the OPPO in a real world setting. The microphones that govern the active noise cancelling are also the same microphones that handle the environmental noise cancelling for whenever you want to take any phone call. So if you do want to see how these earphones would perform in a very busy environment, there really is only one way to find out.
So I'm calling you from the usual busy street that I do all of my call tests from. So as you can see, there's a lot of traffic behind me. In fact, today there's a terrific traffic jam. So you've got school buses, four-wheelers, two-wheelers, and of course generally the ambient noise that's around me. Over my left shoulder there is a lot of construction work going on as well, and you may get the occasional pressure horn during this test. So excuse my voice, I've been down with some sort of bug lately, so I'll do the best I can at give you this demo. So this is how you can expect your voice to carry in this kind of environment when there's no sort of environmental noise cancelling on. So this has been the audio carried over from the camera microphone to give you a sense of the noise around me. And I'll switch over to the OPPO Enco Air 3 Pro microphone right about
now. So this is pretty much what the OPPO Enco A3 Pro will sound like when you're talking to any of your recipients. This is how your voice will sound to them. So the Oppo hasn't particularly impressed me in the past because I did find its previous generation to do a bit better than this does in the environmental noise cancelling test for phone calls in this kind of situation. Now, no doubt this will do significantly better in a controlled environment, be it at your office or at home. So, this is pretty much how your vocal tonality will carry over to your recipient from the Oppo. So, I will switch over to the earphone right about now.
So this is pretty much how the earphone will handle your voice being carried over to your recipients. Now, one thing to note is both of these do terrifically well with the active noise cancelling modes on in this kind of environment. I had the Oppo on the noise cancelling environment as well. So these two do have a load on the ANC as well as the ENC going on right now. So in the in-depth reviews, I do go through a test of cycling between the different ANC modes. So if you do want to see that, I do go a lot more in-depth in the in-depth reviews. So you can jump to those reviews which will leave in the description below, just to give you a better idea of what these earphones are all about. So I do hope that this demo has given you a better understanding for both of these earphones. And of course, I will see you back at the studio.
The OPPO comes with a 12.4mm dynamic driver, whereas the Earfun comes with an 11mm dynamic driver. The OPPO supports the SPC AAC and LDAC codecs, whereas the Earfun supports the SPC AAC, LC3 as well as the aptX adaptive codecs. The OPPO has a frequency response of 20 Hz all the way up to 40,000 Hz, and the Earfun has a frequency response of 20 Hz all the way up to 20,000 Hz. On a volume front, both these earphones are comfortable to listen to at between 40 and 50%, but the OPPO does seem to have a bit of an issue with amping because at all equal volumes, you have to boost the OPPO by about 5% to sound equal to that of the earphone. So the earphone's amping sounds just about right because even at lower volumes, it does maintain some sort of roundedness in the lower frequencies, whereas the OPPO does tend to thin out a bit. Now, I wouldn't recommend listening to either of these earphones beyond 50 and 60% volume for prolonged periods of time if you intend on preserving your hearing. Soundstage between both these earphones is quite similar like it is with most other TWS earphones, but I find myself enjoying the earphone a little bit more because its stage is slightly wider than the OPPO's. It also has a better focused center phantom channel and good left and right separation compared to the OPPO. Now, of course, you do get OPPO's Alive Audio, which will give you a simulation of a wider stage with the compromise of your audio being thinned out. So, I've usually avoided listening to this kind of setting because it just tends to sound a little more false. Your music doesn't sound as true as it should be. So, to me, it's more of a gimmick, so I usually avoid it. I do prefer listening to my music on the OPPO with the Alive Audio off. Imaging on both these earphones is kind of similar, but it's the smaller details, it's the finer edges, the smaller nuances that are slightly sharper, slightly better defined on the earphone compared to the OPPO. This, of course, becomes more apparent when you start using higher bit codecs. Now, of course, the OPPO does support LDAC, which carries a lot more data than the aptX codec, but the earphone is able to give you finer refinement in its overall delivery, and this just boils down to being better engineered than the OPPO. You can tell very clearly that Earfun has put in more of an effort when it comes to its sound than OPPO has. High frequencies come through with good energy from both of these earphones, but the OPPO tends to give you a much softer delivery. The Earfun has a lot more confidence in this range compared to the OPPO. Percussion and instruments that exists in this range seem to have more purpose in their existence when being played through the Earfun. The OPPO does seem to be on the timid side of its presentation. Despite the Earfun being as energetic as it is and well defined, it doesn't come close to being shrill, so stays clear away of ear fatigue over longer listening sessions. Listening to Robbie Williams and Nicole Kidman perform Something Stupid, all shimmers, strings, and percussion that sit in this range come with a level of shyness you'd expect from a puppy that's trying to be a part of a new pack of dogs. The Earfun, on the other hand, has a confidence you can expect from an alpha dog. It's precise and strong with every step or tone it throws at you. It's got the perfect balance of energy and precision without being aggressive. Mid frequencies tend to come at you a bit thinner sounding through the OPPO than the Earfun, but it is well detailed and has good separation. When it comes to detail and separation though, the Earfun is the superior one between these two for certain. This range is better rounded, has crisper separation between vocals and instruments, and is generally fuller sounding than the OPPO. The Earfun has more of a sense of effortlessness in its delivery in this range compared to the OPPO for sure. It's a lot more comfortable with handling everything from the upper to lower mids and doesn't have a rounded off lower mid range like the OPPO does, which can make the OPPO sound anemic in the lower mids. Listening to Luke Evans and Charlotte Church perform Come What May, being an emotionally heavy track with a good amount of strings, vocals, and acoustic instruments in general, the OPPO seems to want to focus more on crispness in the higher mids than give you a rounded presentation in this range. Through the Earfun, this piece is truly a performance and has body and weight in this range, making Luke's and Charlotte's voices, along with the backing vocals and instruments, carry over emotion over to you, which the OPPO simply cannot. Low frequencies between these two is a bit different in its approach, but I can't really seem to decide which one I like in this range. The OPPO handles this range with a little more disconnect from the mids since it has that lower mid roll off. So this range is better isolated from there, making it a little better defined. The Earfun's mid-range and lower frequencies do mold into one another, so there isn't that disconnect. But the Earfun does have more of a size to it in its bass delivery compared to the OPPO. It is heavy sounding and large, but if you're particular about your bass, this might tend to seem on the muddy side compared to how the OPPO delivers this range. Listening to Say Something performed by Justin Timberlake and Chris Stapleton, the lower rumble in this track comes across quite effortlessly to you, with the Earfun making it a lot more fun to listen to compared to the OPPO. But the OPPO does appear to come across as cleaner sounding in this range with better control in its delivery. Both these earphones do have the option of equalization. Now with the OPPO, you are linked up through the Hey Melody app, but you just have 3 options in there that you can choose from. I usually like to use the bass boost, otherwise it's not as hefty in the bass with the OPPO in particular. Now of course you can use third-party apps should you want to, but I'm just talking about the things that these work with out of the box. And then when it comes to the Earfun, it's terrifically detailed with multiple EQs you can choose from, and what I like is you do also have a manual EQ. So usually what I do is I cull the lower frequencies down a bit because it can be a little bass heavy for my taste. So when I bring the bass down, it's suddenly more controlled, the muddiness disappears, and it's better defined. It does become a little bit tighter. So on a bass front, when it comes to being able to handle EQs, I'd go for the Earfun over the OPPO any day. So to sum up, on a build front, talking about the OPPO, it is well built. I do like the overall design. That see-through section on the top of the case that looks like Thanos' chin is very nicely done. It's a good finish. I don't like the fact that OPPO is always making glossy stuff. All the stuff of theirs that I've reviewed, I think except maybe for the W31 was that one was matte, but everything else has been glossy in the recent past, and it just picks up a lot of scratches and scuffs in time. Usually after 2 weeks you can see all of the scratches and scuffs, but I know a lot of people do like to pick up cases, which is fine, but its overall build is not bad. I can't really complain about it because some of the OPPOs that I've picked up in the past have lasted me well over 2 years. Some of them have only given up working because they've been accidentally put in a washing machine. So they're built to last. They do make good hardware. And when it comes to the overall comfort of this set of earphones in particular, the previous generation used to hurt my left ear because my left ear concha is a bit smaller than the right. So my left ear used to hurt with the Air 2 Pro. But with this generation, they seem to have tweaked it a bit, because usually I used to feel pain in my left ear after 40 minutes of use. With this set of earphones, I only feel a slight discomfort. I don't feel the pain. So I think the housing is slightly smaller than the previous generation, so it is comfortable. Moving on to the Earfun, it's a beautiful build quality. In fact, I think it feels a lot more premium when you hold it because of the matte finish. And just having that little rubber section on the inside, it's obviously be done so that the earbuds don't get scratched whenever you open and close the lid. And also it contributes towards that nice soft clamping sound whenever you interact with it. These are just the small things that add up to your product feeling more premium. So I do like that. And even the earbuds for that matter, the stems are beautifully done. The coloring, the texture they've got, even that reflective branding for Earfun that they've got on it, the chrome ring they've got around the touch area, it's very intricately done. They've genuinely done a very good job with how these are built. And on a comfort front, the discomfort that I used to feel with the OPPO, I don't get with this at all. These have never caused me any sort of ear fatigue, no ear discomfort. I've used these for hours on end in some situations, and at no point have I felt any fatigue with these compared to the OPPO. On a feature front, both of these have got pretty much what you need. I don't see anybody really missing anything, except if you want wireless charging on the OPPO, it doesn't have it. The Earfun has it. If you want in-ear detection, the OPPO has it and the Earfun doesn't have it. So you need to figure out what you want, because I think they've got enough. They've got touch controls. They've got active noise cancelling. On an active noise cancelling front, for that matter, I did think the OPPO would be superior. In fact, I had to go back and do the ANC A/B testing again because and put on some noises from my system, because I wasn't sure what I was hearing until I did definitely realize that the OPPO does let in slightly higher frequencies compared to the Earfun. The Earfun's hybrid setup is definitely a plus point. And this is what makes me think that the OPPO does in fact only have 2 mics per earbud, because well, if you heard the call quality, I think you'll be able to tell what the quality of the OPPO is. In fact, the previous generation of the OPPO, the Air 2 Pro, had better sounding audio. It was one of the best I'd heard. I'm surprised that they've gone backwards, in fact, with that, with the audio quality of the latest set. But if you've not seen the audio quality chapter, you'd be the best judge. You can jump back and see which one you like, which one's performance you prefer before you decide to buy one. On a sound front, as much as I like the OPPO, in fact, I've always liked the OPPO's sound. They have had audiophile heritage. Every single OPPO I've tested, I've always liked. And in fact, every comparison I've put it in, I've always liked the OPPO over everything else. But now I think Earfun has stepped into the game and it's a different story all of a sudden. So the OPPO does focus more on detail. It's trying to be more intricate in what it gives you, in the sense it wants to pinpoint all the finer details to a certain extent, where higher mids and higher frequencies are more expressed than the roundedness of the tonal quality of a voice or a guitar or a piano or any instrument for that matter. It does it well. It's not that it's doing it badly, but the Earfun just gives it more musicality. It's more fun to listen to if you're enjoying your music. So it's almost like the OPPO is trying to tell you, hey, I'm performing for you. You need to appreciate me or not, or whatever, however you consider music. Whereas the Earfun is not trying to be recognized. It's not trying to let you know that, hey, listen, I'm performing for you. It's almost as if the Earfun is trying to enjoy the music along with you. It's trying to disappear in your music, almost as if it's just you and your artist. And that's the whole point of sound. You want your equipment to disappear to a certain extent. You want to be able to really be involved in your music. And the Earfun compared to the OPPO is certainly a lot more musical. So overall, I'd say both of these earphones are great to own, and obviously it depends on your flavor, what kind of sound you like, what kind of features you like, what kind of build you'd prefer. You'll need to decide which one you'd go for. Now, I'm obviously leaning towards the Earfun myself because I'm more of a sound enthusiast. I do prefer better sounding stuff. In fact, I'd rather choose something that sounds nicer rather than choose features. So for me, sound is priority. So you'll have to decide what you like. But I think both of these are terrific value for money. In fact, coming to the price, at the time of recording this video, the OPPO has a maximum retail price of 7,999 rupees. But It is being sold for 4,999. I'm not too sure if they fluctuate during discount seasons, but keep a lookout. Then moving on to the Earfun, the maximum retail price of the Earfun is 12,999 rupees, which is a bit higher, and the selling price as of a few hours ago was 5,889 rupees. But I do have some good news. Earfun did provide me with a discount code a while ago, which is on my in-depth review. I think it's still active. If it is active, I don't know if it's active, but you guys can try it. I'll leave it down here below. You should get a 25% further discount on the current selling price. So it should make the Earfun more affordable than the OPPO for sure. So you should give it a try. And by any chance, if the code is still active and you can use it, and it's not working on your phone, try this out, because I've had a few people come back to me and tell me this is a problem where they try to use the code and it doesn't get through the app on their phones. Try logging in through a browser on your computer and use the same code. You should be able to get through and you should be able to buy it. Anyone who's tried this method, it has been successful. So try that out. So are these worth it? Well, honestly speaking, at these prices, I think they are. And especially if you get that discount code, I think you're going to get a terrific discount on the Earfun, which is more affordable than the OPPO. And I think it's super value for money. I mean, Earfun's doing a terrific job. I've heard this was one of the first products that I've ever heard, and it's straight out of the box. It's great sounding, and the fact that you can even tweak the audio to the extent where you can from within the Earfun app is quite unbelievable. It's got multiple bands of tuning. So, of course, if you do want to know more about either of these earphones, you can check in the description below. I would have left the in-depth review links right there. So I hope you found this video helpful and informative, and I hope I've helped you make some sort of purchase decision. If you would like to help the channel, I'm sure you know exactly how to. But of course, thank you for tuning into Paul's POV for some sound advice.